Okay, today I'm going to teach you about this secret. It's not a secret, but it's something that I share with my students to help them study perfectly or study in a more efficient way. So, for instance, when I have a crash program student, that's someone who's trying to complete a course in limited time, I try and suggest this because it helps them go through their studies routine and not have to come back to anything. If they, I don't recommend not coming back to anything, but we're talking about people who don't have the option to then come back because they have limited time. But if you have time and you use this, it's going to work better for you. So I'm going to dive into it and explain what the three-part study routine is. So for instance, this is for someone who has maybe I'll say an hour. Let's deal with 1 hour of study, right? And we split the hour into three sections. The first one is 10 minutes, and then the other one will be 40 minutes, and then the other one will be 10 minutes. That's an hour, right? So we have our review section, we have our current section, and we have our preview section. Now, as for our review section, what is our review section? We have a set, right? Or sets. It's actually sets. So review, what you're doing is you're just looking at what you studied yesterday. So you're going through what you studied yesterday, just reviewing your study session for the other time. So what was in your current yesterday, meaning what you were currently studying yesterday, is now what you're reviewing. So this guy probably studied sets yesterday. He studied sets, so he's looking at what sets are. He just dedicates 10 minutes to that. And then now the 10 minutes are up, he has to move on. He moves on to indices. Indices is what he is currently studying today. He dedicates 40 minutes on indices. Now, I'm sorry, I kind of have a cough, so bear with me. But anyway, he dedicates 40 minutes to indices, and then after these 40 minutes, let's look at what he's studying tomorrow. It's logs. Okay, he goes through it. He does not need to understand logs. He does not need to dive deep into it, but it's almost just to have an idea of what to expect the following day. So, for instance, just like in series, right, they have the previously and then they will have the next on whatever show you like to watch. So, that's pretty much so you just have an idea. You don't get through the whole thing, it's just a taste of what's going to come. So, now if you look at this, is day one, right? Day one. So, if you look at day one, how many topics did the person cover? One, two, three. Three topics already. That's in an hour's time. That's good enough for me. Come day two. Now, day two, what were they doing the day before? Indices. So now let's look at what we covered yesterday. He looks at the indices. Okay, do I remember everything? Sharp, I do. All right, now let's move on. Yesterday I previewed, now it has moved to the current. Now it's on log. The logs are the current lesson. You dedicate 40 minutes of logs. And then after that, sometimes you can do a 5 minute break depending on how you study. Some people don't need breaks. Salute to you if you don't need breaks. And then 40 minutes, that's logs. And then we move on to the next thing, that's probability. Let me look at probability. I'm going to do probability tomorrow. The cycle repeats after an hour is done. He waits for tomorrow, which is now day three. So on day three, you're now doing logs as your review to see what you've been looking at for the past 2 days. And remember, in the previous video, I just told you that you need to go through something at least 3 times for you to solidly remember it. I don't know if solidly it's an actual English word, but this is maths class. We do everything we can to get the maths communicated properly. So anyway, logs. Now logs is a review. Then we move on to probability. Probability is now 40 minutes, which was previously on the preview column now. And then let's just say he's going to look at vectors next. So what I need you to notice is that you have done How many you've touched how many topics in 3 days? One, two, three, four, 5 topics. But in within those 3 days, you have split, instead of doing 1 hour vlogs, you split your 10 minutes, 40, that's 50, now 60. So it's an hour spread over 3 days. So instead of doing an hour and then you forget, you spread your hour over 3 days so that you remember better. This method is just for you to be able to retain information.